Hi everyone, this is Mr. Zhang, and today we'll be going over the math homework for Class P. This is for session U26. For question number 1, you have to use the diagram below to answer the question. Here the question says, the area of each square is given in the diagram. What's the value of x plus y? So we know that this is a square, or we have two squares here. And for squares, we know that all sides are equal and that all angles are equal. Now we could use the fact that all sides are equal here to figure out the side of this square. If the area is 1600, we know the formula for the area of a square is going to be the side squared, or side to the second power. So that means that to figure out the side, we have to use inverse operations. So you set 1600 equal to x squared, and the inverse operation here is square root. So if you take the square root on both sides, you get that x is equal to 40, because 1600 is a perfect square. Then you do the same thing for this 900. So the area is equal to 900. That's equal to side squared. And the square root of both sides will give you the side, which is equal to y in this case, is equal to 30. So x plus y will be 40 plus 30, or choice C, 70. Next for number 2, you need to find what is the value of the expression negative 4 times the square root of 25 plus 4 cubed. So here, if you have multiple operations, you have to do the order of operations, which is parentheses, first then exponents, multiply and divide, and then add and subtract. And you could use a mnemonic, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And that's going to help you remember the order of operations. So here you have a couple of invisible, or you have this invisible multiplication symbol. So just go through the order. You don't see any parentheses, but you do see some exponents. So that's 4 cubed and the square root of 25. Remember, a square root of x is equal to x to the 1/2 power. So a square root also counts as exponents. So this would be negative 4 times 5 plus 4 cubed is just 4 times 4 times 4, or 64. So we're done with the exponents. Then you need to do multiply and divide. So negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. And then finally, you add or subtract. So 64 minus 20 will be 44. That's choice B. So for this question, the key is the order of operations. So parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, subtract. You can also use a mnemonic device to help you. Next for number 3, you need to find what is the simplified form of this big expression. So 6x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5. Then you're subtracting 3x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus x plus 4. So you have to use the distributive property here. There's a subtract and an invisible 1 here. You essentially distribute the negative sign across everything in this parentheses. So when you distribute the negative sign, you're like multiplying. It's essentially multiplying by negative 1. So it's going to change all the signs. So you'll end up with negative 1 times 3x to the 4th, or negative 3x to the 4th. Negative 1 times negative 2x cubed will be positive 2x cubed. Negative 1 times positive x will be negative x. And negative 1 times positive 4 will be negative 4. And then you just have to combine like terms. So when you combine like terms, you have to first line everything up. And this time, because we distributed negative sign, you just add everything. So 6x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 2x squared, and then plus 5. You don't have anything for the x term. You have minus 3x to the fourth plus 2x cubed minus x and a minus 4. So you line everything up and you just add. So 6x to the fourth minus 3x to the fourth will be 3x to the fourth. Here 4x cubed plus 2x cubed will be 6x cubed. Into both positive. And then here you don't have the x squared term, so this is like a 0x squared. So that doesn't change anything. This would just be minus 2x squared. And here you don't have an x term, so just like adding 0x. This is just minus x, and positive 5 minus 4 is plus 1. So the answer is choice D. So here you have to distribute the minus sign, multiply by negative 1, including the signs, and then you got to combine like terms. Just be careful, there are some placeholders here that you can write in that you don't have any like terms. So this negative 2x squared, for example, just ends up here. Here's a summary for this first page. Next, for number 4, you need to use the graphs below to answer the question. So which line shows a negative slope? So its slope is the steepness of a line. And you can represent this slope, the letter M. That's change in y over change in x, or rise over run, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, if you're given the points. And here, to figure out a negative slope, you just have to know that a negative slope goes down when you read the graph from left to right. So we just look at the graphs, and this line, line S, has a negative slope because it's going down. So the answer is choice B. So for number 4, it's going down when you read the graph, so that's a negative slope. Whereas for number 4, it rises, as well as for these two, they rise, so this is a positive slope. This is a negative slope. And the special case is the last one, line U. If it's a flat line, this is a 0 slope. And the last scenario is if there's a line that's going straight up. A vertical line will have a undefined slope. And that's because the y values are the same, or the x values are the same, so the denominator is 0. And when you do rise, it will run. So here's the summary for this page. Next, for number 5, use the following figure to answer the question. So triangle ABC is equilateral, and each side measures 10 inches. Segment DC is equal to 5 inches. What's the length of AD? So you know that DC is equal to 5, and this is equilateral. So an equilateral is a regular triangle. It means that all sides are equal, and that all angles are equal. And all angles will be equal to 60 degrees. So for an equilateral triangle, it's a 60, 60, 60. So angle C, we know, has to be 60 degrees. And that means that AD is a perpendicular bisector. And a perpendicular bisector, it's perpendicular to the base, and it cuts the opposite side in half because it bisects it, and it's also perpendicular, so it's 90 degrees angled to the base. It's also the altitude in this case. So you made a special right triangle for triangle ACD. Triangle ACD is a 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. The top angle, angle A, got cut in half into 230 degrees. And then it made a 90-degree with angle ADC. And for a 30, 60, 90 right triangle, you have to memorize the ratio of the sides are in the ratio of x, 2x, and x root 3. So once you have these sides, you can figure out that this x corresponds to this 5. This 2x corresponds to 2 times 5, or 10. So the height has to be the x root 3, which will be 5 root 3. That's choice B. So the key for this question is to know that for equilateral triangles, all sides are equal and all angles are equal. And then you figure out that it's a 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. And the sides are in this ratio, x, 2x, and x root 3. And then after you figure that out, you just match the sides. Next one, number 6. What is the simplest form of the expression 2x squared plus 16x plus 14 is equal divided by x squared minus 1? So here we have to factor. And when you factor, the first thing you notice is that the coefficients are all even, so you can first factor out a 2 from the numerator, and that will give you 2. And in parentheses, you have x squared plus 8x plus 7. Then you divide by x squared minus 1. Now you can factor both the numerator and the denominator here. So the denominator, x squared minus 1, that's a difference of 2 squares. And instead of x squared minus 1, you can make this a general form, x squared minus y squared. That's known as difference of 2 squares. Or I should rather just have a squared minus b squared to make it easier. A squared minus b squared will factor into a plus b and a minus b. And you can FOIL this to double check. But when you FOIL, you have first outer will be a squared minus ab. Inner last will be plus ab and minus b squared. Because it's positive b times the negative b. And here the middle two terms cancel out. You just have a squared minus b squared. So that means that the denominator turns into x plus 1 times x minus 1. Now for the numerator, you just factor this as normal. Here you want to look for the factors of 7. And 7 is prime, so it's only 1 and 7. And it turns out that they both add to get 8. So that means that x squared plus 8x plus 7 will be x plus 1 and x plus 7, the two factors that you have. And if you FOIL, you have x squared plus 7x. And inner last, you have plus x plus 7. And the 7x plus the x will give you the 8x that you want. So you have x plus 1 times x plus 7. And here, notice that the x plus 1 factor will cancel out. So when you simplify this, you have choice A left. 2 times x plus 7 in parentheses divided by x minus 1. So for number 6, you just have to factor, and the difference of 2 squares factoring pattern is the important one. Now you have to memorize here. The other factoring, you just have to guess and check, doing the factors here. Okay, here's a summary for this page. Next, for number 7, what's the value of 1/2 raised to the negative 2 power? So here you can use the laws of exponents. The first thing here is if you have a over b raised to the c power, this exponent gets applied to both the numerator and the denominator. That's a to the c over b to the c. So you can raise both of these to -2. Now when you have a negative exponent, b raised to -a, that's equal to the reciprocal. So it'll be b 1 over b to the a. You have to apply that to the numerator and the denominator. The numerator will be 1 over 1 squared. The denominator will be 1 over 2 squared. And now once you have this, you can simplify by doing keep chain flip. So 1 over 1 squared divided by 1 over 2 squared. And UKCF for dividing fractions, that'll be 1 over 1 squared. And chain to divide to multiply, and you have to flip the second fraction. This will give you 4 over 1, which is just equal to 4. That's choice D. You have to use these two laws of exponents to help you out. You can also start with the second law here, and then just flip the 1/2 to 2 over 1, and then just square that. Next one, number 8, a line has a slope of 3/4 and passes through a point -4, 2, which represents the equation of the line written in standard form. So if you have the slope and you have a point, you can use what's called the point slope form of a line. And for the point slope form, you have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1, where m is a slope and x1, y1 is a point, and this is any point on the graph, not necessarily the y-intercept. So if you substitute in where m is equal to 3/4 and x1 equals -4, y1 is equal to +2, you substitute in. So 3/4 goes here, -4 goes there, +2 goes there. You get y minus 2 is equal to 3/4 of x minus -4. And when you simplify this, x minus -4 becomes x plus 4 in parentheses. Now you want to turn this into standard form, and in standard form you have ax plus by equals c. So you want to make sure there are no denominators and the constants by itself. So you can get to that form by multiplying both sides by 4 to get rid of this denominator. And just remember to distribute. You'll get 4y minus 8. And here you'll just distribute the 3. That would be 3x plus 12. And here you can put everything to the left side by subtracting 3x on both sides and then adding 8. And you have -3x plus 4y is equal to 20. And that's choice B. So here you can use a point slope form of a line, which is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. You can also use, this is just, it comes from the slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and you can just substitute in using the slope, and for x and y using the points here. So the alternative is to substitute in 2 here, for -4 here, and the slope can go here, and solve for the y-intercept b, and then rearrange it to form it the standard form. So that should also work as well. And here's a summary for this page. Next, for number 9, you have this chart, so you have to use this table below to answer the question. In a school of 100 students, what's the probability of randomly selecting a student that is neither a female or a senior? Oh, either a female or a senior. So here you want females. And for females, the total is 50. And then the seniors, the totals is this row 25. And if you look at these two circles, you did a double count. So it looks like there's 75, but we double counted this 10 that's in the middle here. So because we double counted 10, you're gonna have to subtract 10, and that will be 65 out of 100. So the answer here will be choice D. So just be careful of a double count because there are 10 female seniors, so you have to make sure to subtract the double count. Next for number 10, the vertices of triangle ABC are 0, 0 for A, B is 6, 0, and C is 3, 7. What type of triangle is triangle ABC? So it helps if you just draw a grid. So you have point A is 0, 0, that's the origin. Then B is 6, 0. That's over here for B. And C is 3 and 7. So if you connect the dots here, turns out that you made an isosceles triangle because this 3, 7 is right down the middle. And it's acute for choice A, isosceles triangles. This vertex angle is acute and not obtuse. It's not scaling because scaling means 3 different sides. And it's not a right angle. Not a right triangle because there are no right angles. Here's the summary for this page. Next one, number 11. Which of the following statements is true for a line that passes through the points -2, 4 and 3, 4? So you notice that they have the same y values. So if you make a graph, you have -2, 4. And for 3, 4, it's going to make a horizontal line if you connect the dots. And a horizontal line, have we seen this before? It has a 0 slope. That's because if you do change in y over change in x, or y2 minus y1, or x2 minus x1, you'll have 4 minus 4 subtracted by 3 minus -2. And that's 0 over 5, which is 0. The y values are the same, so the change in y, the numerator, is 0. So the answer is choice D. Next, for number 12, you have to use the figure below to answer the question. So in triangle ABC, DE is parallel to BC. You can draw the symbol for that. And the measure of angle A is 60 degrees. The measure of angle DEC is 125 degrees. What's the measure of angle B? So here we have 125, which is the exterior angle of the triangle on top. And to figure out the exterior angle, what you can do, the sum of the two interior angles is equal to the exterior angle. So when you have a triangle here, this exterior angle C is equal to the sum of A plus B. So to figure out this angle here, you can just do 125 minus 60. That's equal to 65. Now, the other thing that you can do is to use supplementary angles here. You know that this straight line has to be 180 degrees because they are supplementary. So this angle is 180 degrees. 180 minus 125 is equal to 55. And you can do this 180 because the triangle also adds up to 180. Minus 60 minus 55, and you get the same 65 here. But that will be 2 steps. Here, this formula that you can use can help you save some time. Either way, when you get this angle, angle ADE, this is the same as angle B. That's because these two angles are corresponding angles. We have a pair of parallel lines, and these two angles that form this letter F. In this case, it's upside down and backwards. They are corresponding, and corresponding angles are equal. So the answer will be 65. You have to use corresponding angles as well as either supplementary angles, it adds up to 180, or a triangle adds up to 180. Any of the combinations will help you figure out the measure of angle B. All right, and here's a summary for this page. Next, for number 13, what's the value of the expression 3 plus 1/4 divided by 3? So we just add the numerator, 3 plus 1/4. That's really a 3 over 1 plus 1/4, and the LCD here is 4. So this 3 over 1, you want to multiply by 4 over 4. It's going to be 12 over 4. If you add 1 over 4, that will be 13 over 4. So this will be 13 over 4, and you are dividing by 3. And you can rewrite this as 13 over 4 divided by 3, and you have to do keep, change, flip. So you have 13 over 4 times 1/3. Remember, this 3 has a denominator of 1, so this will be 13 over 12. That's choice B. Next, to number 14, using positive exponents, what's the simplest form of the expression x to the 4th divided by 3x squared raised to the 3rd power? So here you have to use the law of exponent that states that a over b raised to the c power is a to the c over b to the c. You have to distribute this exponent. So you distribute this exponent to everything inside the parentheses. It will be x to the 4th raised to the 3rd power divided by 3y squared raised to the 3rd power. And now you have power to a power here, which is this law of exponent. B to the a to the c is b to the a times c. And here you also have to distribute this exponent across the product. So if you have a times b raised to the c power, this is a to the c times b to the c. So the numerator will be x raised to the 4 times the root of 12. The denominator will be 3 cubed times y squared cubed. So now you have to do power to a power again, which is this rule. So you have to multiply 2 times 3. It'll be 27 times y to the 6th. And that's choice D. So you have 3 laws of exponents here. A times b to the c power. You have to distribute the c across the product. If you have a fraction inside the parentheses as a base, you have to distribute the c to the numerator and the denominator. And in power to a power, you have to multiply the exponent. And here's the summary for this page. Next, for number 15, given the linear equation y equals 2/3 of x plus 2, which table of value represents this equation? So here, for the table of value, you just have to substitute in all the values and plug in the x and y and make sure they are both equal. So the first one that you can try out is 0 for the x, because that's really easy to substitute in. So if x is equal to 0, y would be equal to 2/3 of 0 plus 2, which will just be equal to 0 plus 2, or 2. So the point is 0, comma 2. You see that for A, B, and D. So that's not helpful here. The next number that you can try is 2. You'll see some 2's in here and here. That's the next number anyway. So y will be equal to 2/3 times 2 plus 2, or 4/3 plus 2. And this is going to be 4/3 plus 6/3, or 10 out of 3. So that's a fraction here, 3 1/3. So it'll be 2 comma 3 1/3. And that means you can eliminate 5 and 0. So B and C are out of contention. The next number you see is 3. So if x is equal to 3, y will be 2/3 times 3 plus 2. The 3 cancels out with the 3 in the denominator. This is just 2 plus 2, which equal to 4. This is 3 comma 4. So A is probably it. Now the next number you can try is -3. Just to double check everything. To be y is equal to 2/3 times -3 plus 2. And this would be -1 times 2, which is -2 plus 2, or 0. So this is -3 comma 0. And A works out, so everything in A has to be it because all 3 points work. So for number 15, you just substitute in for the x and the y. Next for number 16, what's a y-intercept of a line that contains the points 3 comma 3 and 6 comma -1? So first, if you have these 2 points, the first thing you can do is find the slope. So the slope is change in y over change in x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this would be 3 minus -1, just make sure your order is the same, and divided by 3 minus 6. And this is 3 plus 1, or 4 over 3 minus 6, which is -3. So the slope will be -4/3. So once you have the slope, then you can substitute back in to y equals mx plus b, which is a slope-intercept form, where b is a y-intercept, which is what you want, and m is the slope, and x comma y are the points. So in this case, you substitute in -4/3 for the slope, and you can pick any of the points. So 3 comma 3, for example, you can substitute in x equals 3 and y equals 3. So it'd be 3 is equal to -4/3 times 3 plus b. The 3 cancels out with the 3, so you have 3 is equal to -4 plus b. Add 4 to both sides, and you get the y-intercept b is equal to 7. The answer is choice C. The equation of the line will be y equals -4/3 x plus 7. So once you have this equation, you can solve for any point on this line. And here's the summary for this page. All right, next for number 1. A hundredths of a billion plus 1,000 thousandths is equal to how many millions? So 1/100 means 1 over 100. And a billion has 9 zeros. So if you multiply these two, because of means multiply, you cross out 2 of the zeros, and you end up with 7 zeros, so that's going to be 10 million. Now you have 1,000 thousandths, that's 1,000 times 1,000, which is equal to 1 million, with 6 zeros. So you have 1 mil plus 10 mil, that's choice E, 11 millions. Next, for number 2, 2005 is the nth number in this arithmetic sequence. So you have 80, 87, 94, 101, etc. The keyword here is arithmetic. Arithmetic sequences, the pattern is to add a common difference or subtract. In this case, the difference is 7, because you keep adding 7. So you can use a general form. The nth number will be lowercase a, the first number, plus the common difference d times n minus 1. That's because to get to the second number, you add 7 once. To get to the third number, you add 7 2 times. To get to the fourth number, you add 7 3 times. So here you have to subtract 1 from the term number to get to the final number. And here A is equal to the first number, which is 80. The common difference is 7. You want to set this equal to 2005. So this is the equation that you want to solve. And to solve for this, you can distribute the 7. So you get 7n minus 7 plus 80 is equal to 2005. Then you can subtract 80 on both sides. You get 1925 is equal to 7n minus 7. Then you want to add 7. You get that 7n is equal to 1932. And here you can divide 1932 divided by 7. And you get 276. That's choice B. So the key here was to use an arithmetic sequence, which has this general equation. Just remember to subtract 1 from the term number. Next, for number 3, according to novel Da Vinci Code, the number of members of the priori of Scion is 1 more than the sum of the first 6 positive powers of 3. If true, how many members does the priori of Scion have? So you have the first 6 powers of 3. So you have 3, 3 to the first power. And 3 squared is 9. 3 cubed is 27. Next time we multiply by 3, that's 81. Then multiply that by 3, you get 243. So that's 5. The last one, if you multiply by 3, that would be 729. And then you just add everything up. And then you still have to add the first 3. That's 10 plus the 12 is 22. Should be 1090. Let me double check. The closest one is choice D. Check the addition here. Yes, should be 1092. So the typo here should be a 2. All right, next one, number 4. The human genome consists of approximately 6 billion base pairs, and if stretched out, it will be 6 feet long. Approximately how many genome base pairs would be in a piece that is 1/16 of an inch long? So here, if you have 6 feet, that's equal to 6 billion. So to go from 6 feet to just 1/16 of an inch, what you can do first is divide by 6 to figure out 1 foot. And that will be 1 billion, because you divide it by 6. Then a foot is equal to 12 inches. So then if you divide by 12, you'll just get 1 inch. Divide by 12 on both sides, that'll be 1/12 of a billion. And then that's an inch. To get 16 inch, you have to divide by 16. So 1/16 of an inch will be 1/12 divided by 16 billion. And that's 1/12 times 1/16. So that would be 12 times 16, which is 192. So this will be 1 over 192 billion. So billion divided by 192 will be, you could just kind of round here, but it'll be a couple million, because you divide by, you can estimate this about 1 over 200, and a billion has 9 zeros. So here, 2 of the zeros will disappear, and this 10 goes out with the 5, so the answer will be about 5 million. And choice D is the closest to 5 million. Next, for number 5, between the years 2000 and 2005, the U.S. postal rates for first-class letters have increased from 34 cents for the first ounce and 21 cents for each additional ounce, or part of an ounce, to 37 cents for the first ounce and 23 cents for each additional ounce. What's a percent increase in postage for mailing a first-class letter that weighs 5.2 ounces? So it used to cost 34 cents for the first ounce, and then you still have the 4.2 ounces left, and it'll cost another 21 cents for each additional ounce or part of an ounce. So you have to round up. This 4.2, you have to pay for the 4 ounces plus another ounce, so it's 5 ounces. So it'll be 21 times 5, or 105. So you add 105 plus 34, that would be 139 cents. And this is in 2000. And then in 2005, it got a little more expensive. It's going to cost 37 for the first ounce. And then for the other 4.2 ounces, you have to do, again, round up to 5 and do 23 times 5. That's 115. And you add it up, it'll cost 152 cents. So to figure out the change in the increase, you have to subtract 152 minus 139, you get 13 cents. So that's choice D. The other thing you can do is take the difference here, it costs 3 additional cents. And for each ounce, it costs 2 cents per additional ounce. And you have to multiply by 5. So 5 times 2 is 10 cents, plus the 3 cents, that's the same 13 cents. Next, for number 6, Tatiana's piggy bank is filled with pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. She has at least 5 of each coin and a total of $5.03. What's the least total number of coins that she could have in her piggy bank? So she has at least 5 of each coin. So that means she has 5 pennies, 5 nickels, 5 dimes, and 5 quarters. That's 5 cents, 25 cents, 50 cents, and $1.25. So you add everything up. So everybody has $2.05. So you take 503 minus 205. She still needs an additional $2.98. And you want the least number of coins that she can have. So therefore you want as many quarters as possible. So for $2.98, you can have 4 quarters is equal to $1. So 8 quarters will be equal to $2. And you have another 3 quarters for another 75 cents. And that will make $2.75. So you have 11 quarters here for additional $2.75. And to do $2.98 minus $2.75, you have another 23 cents. So for 23 cents, you'll have the 2 dimes and 3 pennies. So if you add everything up, you have 5 plus 11 plus this 20 here. That would be 36 coins, choice C. Next for number 7, APD is a line, and angle APC is equal to 142 degrees, and angle DPB is equal to 156 degrees. Now what's a measure of angle BPC? Okay, so for this one, you have APC is 142, and then DPB is 156. So if you add 142 plus 156, that would be 298, but you double counted this angle in the middle. So if you subtract 180, which is these three angles, just counted once, you have 118, that will be the double count. An angle you double counted, which will be choice D. So here's a summary for this page. Okay, next for number 8. Jen's 16-ounce soda is 60% Bib and 40% Sprite. Greg's 24-ounce soda is 25% Barks and 75% Sprite. If you combine the two sodas, mix and then pour 4 10-ounce glasses, what percent Sprite is in each of the 10-ounce glasses? So here you can figure out for Jen, it's 60% Mr. Pibb and 40% Sprite. So out of the 16, which is a total, you want the Sprite, and the Sprite is 40%. And 40% is 2 fifths, so 2 fifths times 16 will be 32 over 5 ounces of Sprite. And then for Greg, you have 24 ounces, that's the total, and his is 75% Sprite, so it's 3/4, which is 75%. And 3/4 of 24 is 3 times 6, or 18 ounces of Sprite. So here, if you mix the two together, you have 32 over 5 plus 18 out of a total of 16 plus 24, which is 40. Their total will be 40, and then the part that's Sprite will be 18 plus 32 over 5. You can divide, that's 6.4. So it'll be 24.4 over 40. And that is the percentage. Now when you mix it and pour the 4 10-ounce glasses, each glass will have the same percentage of Sprite anyway as the original. So if you move the decimal over, you'll want to simplify 244 over 400. Here, if you divide by 4, you get 61, and that's 61%. So each of the glasses will have 61%, or choice D, Sprite. Here you just do part over the whole. Next for number 9, the point 7,5 is reflected about the y equals x line to point P. Then point P is reflected about the x-axis to point Q. What's the sum of the coordinates for point Q? So when you reflect over y equals x, you just swap the x and y coordinates. So 7,5 will switch into 5,7. So y equals x is this diagonal here. So I have 7,5 will then swap over to 5,7. And then when you reflect over the x-axis, the y stays the same, but the x, or rather the x stays the same, the y gets negated. So this will be 5, -7. And when you add this up, 5 plus -7 is equal to -2. Choice A. So reflect over x equals y, you swap the coordinates, and reflect about the x-axis, you negate the y value. The x stays the same. Next for number 10, the lines represented by the equation bx minus 6y is equal to c and 12x plus dy is equal to negative 70 are parallel. What does the product BD equal? So if these two lines are parallel, that means that their coefficients will be the same because they're in standard form. So 12 has to be equal to b, and d has to be equal to negative 6. So if you multiply these two, that would be choice A, negative 72. So we have the same coefficients in standard form, they are parallel. So that's a shortcut here. Next for number 11, the Mount St. Helens volcano in Oregon, which erupted in 1980, is showing activity again in 2005. Currently 117 cubic feet per second of lava is oozing out. If all the lava is released in 1 week, or evenly spaced over 1 square mile, approximately how deep would it be? So here you have in 1 week, and it's 117 cubic feet in 1 second. Multiply that by 60 to figure out the minute, times 60 again to figure out the hour, times 24 to figure out the day, and got to times 7 to figure out the week. So this would be how much in 1 week. And now you want to divide it over 1 square mile, and that's 5280. So you divide this by 5280 times 5280, the area for 1 square mile in feet. And just start cross-canceling. Now the answer choices are far enough apart that you can probably just estimate here. So if you see 117, you can estimate that to be about 100 times 6 times 6 times 25, and 7, you can just say it's 10. This would be 500 times 500. Have the 5 here, 5 cancels out with the 25 to form this 5. And 5 cancels out with this 500, get 100, 100 into 10, you get 10. So this would be 36 over 10, or about 3.6. So it's somewhere between 1 and 10, and choice B is the only one that's in between there. So when you estimate, you get about 3.6, and choice B is the closest to that. Next for number 12, on a clock at 10:20, what is the measure of the small angle between the minute hand and the hour hand? So here when you have a clock, you have the 12 hours. So when you have 10:20, and the minute hand will be at the 4. And then the hour hand will be between 10 and 11. Now, because you have 20 minutes, and that's 20 minutes out of the total, which is 60 minutes, the hour hand will be 1/3 of the way there. And now to figure out the angle between 10 and 11, you can do 360 degrees, which is the full circle, divided by 12, which is equal to 30 degrees. So between 10 and 11 is 30 degrees, and you know that it has to be 1/3 of the way there. So the hour hand will be right here. It'll be 1/3 of the way. You still have 40 minutes left. So this is 20 minutes, and each of these will be 20 minutes. And this would be 30 divided by 3, or 10 degrees each. So if you split this up into smaller pieces, this would be 10 degrees. I'm going to add 10 degrees. Each of these will be 30 degrees. 12 to 3 will be 90 degrees. And then 3 to 4 will be another 30 degrees. So to add 30, 90, 30, 10, and 10. And that will be 170 degrees. Choice B. You can also do 180 minus this 10, because the 10 is over here. And 10 and 4 opposites. Next one, number 13. A treadmill records the following speeds for a 40-minute workout. According to the record on treadmill, what distance in miles was covered? Assume that the speed was a whole number. So you just have time, the x, and the y is the speed, or the rate. And we multiply rate times time, you get the distance. So essentially, you want the area underneath each of these rectangles. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you have miles per hour. So here, this is 15 minutes, or 1/4 of an hour. So you have 1/4 times 6. That's 6 over 4, or 3 over 2, or 1.5. So I have that there. The middle box will be from 15 to 30, which is another 15, or 1/4 of an hour. This time we want to multiply by 10. This will be 1/4 times 10, which is 10 over 4, or 2.5. And the last one, you have just 10 minutes, so that's 1/6 of an hour, and this is 3 miles per hour. So you will have 3 times 1/6, or 3 over 6, which is just 1/2 of a mile. So you add 1.5 plus 2.5 plus 0.5, you get 4.5 miles in total, which is choice D. So the formula here is distance equals rate times time, and you can just use the area of the rectangles to help you. One thing to keep in mind, you got to convert the minutes into hours. 1 hour, of course, is 60 minutes. And here's a summary for this page. Next one, number 14. For how many ordered pairs x comma y of positive integers x and y does the square root of x squared plus y squared equals x plus y? So here you just want to do guess and check. One thing to keep in mind is that when you have a square root of a positive here, there aren't that many things that you can do for if you have positive numbers. So one thing to keep in mind, when you have positive numbers, the smallest number is just 1. 1 squared plus 1 squared. Compare that to 1 plus 1. This is the square root of 2. That's not going to be equal to positive 2. And it turns out that the only number in which that would work in this case would be 0, but 0 is not positive. So in terms of positive integers, you don't have any. Here, the sum here will never be the same as just the squares of the sums and then the square root. The answer choice A is 0. You don't have any here. Next one, number 15. 4 tangent congruent circles of radius 6 are inscribed in a rectangle. If P is the vertex and Q and R are points of tangency, what's the area of triangle PQR? So points of tangency means they meet at one point. So it's perfectly meeting at the point, the line with the circle. So if you have a circle and a point of tangency, it meets exactly at that one point. It also makes a 90-degree angle with the radius. Now the radius is 6, so if you measure the radius to this rectangle P with PQ, it will be 6, 6, and 6, or 18. So that's the base. And the other thing you need to find is the height. And the height here is an external height, which is equal to 12. So the area of this triangle will be 1/2 base times height, or 1/2 18 times the external height of 12. And this is just 9 times 12, or 108. That's going to be choice D. Next one, number 6. If 6x equals 4y equals 3z and x plus y plus z is equal to ky, what's the value of k? So you want to convert everything in terms of y's. So you want x in terms of y. And if you divide by 6 on both sides, you get that x is equal to 4/6 of a y, or 2/3 y. And then you also want z in terms of y. So for that, if you know that 4y is equal to 3z, divide by 3, get that z is equal to 4/3 of y. And y is just 3/3. So if you add everything up, add the numerators, 2 plus 3 plus 4, it'll be 9 over 3y, or 3y. So then the k has to be equal to 3, choice C. So you want to put everything in terms of y, and then just substitute in. For number 17, if a, b, and c and d are distinct numbers, and that ax plus b is equal to cx plus d, what does x equal? So to solve for x, what you have to do is move everything to one side. So subtract cx on both sides, and subtract b. So you have ax minus cx is equal to d minus b. And now you want to factor out this x because you have two instances of x. So this will be x times a minus c is equal to d minus b. And if you divide by a minus c on both sides, you get the answer is d minus b divided by a minus c. So move all the terms with x's on one side, factor out the x, and then isolate it. Next one, number 18. A square and a rectangle have equal areas. The length of the rectangle is 4 times its width. What's the ratio of the perimeter of the rectangle to the perimeter of the square? First, you want to draw the shapes. The length of the rectangle is 4 times its width, so the width is w. The length will be 4 times w. Now the area here will be length times width, or w times 4w, which is 4w squared. Now a square with an area of 4w squared means that each side will be 2w. Because 2w times 2w is 4w squared. You can also do the square root. Now the square has all sides equal. And now you can find the ratio of the perimeter of the rectangle to the square. So the perimeters here will be 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 1, or 10w for the rectangle. For the square, the perimeter is 8w. So it's 10w to 8w, or 5 to 4. That's choice C. Next, for number 19, if 16 raised to the x power is equal to 8 raised to the y is equal to 64 raised to the 6, what does the sum x plus y equal? So 64 raised to the 6, you can rewrite that in terms of a base of 8, because 8 squared is 64. So if that's the case, you can rewrite 64 raised to the 6 as 8 squared to the 6. And then do power to a power, it says 8 to the 12. So you know that y is equal to 12. Now to turn the 64 to get the x, they both have a power of 4. So 64 is equal to 4 cubed. And 16 is equal to 4 squared. So you can rewrite 16x squared, 16 raised to the x is equal to 4 squared to the x, or 4 raised to the 2x. 64 raised to the 6 will be 4 cubed to the 6, which is 4 raised to the 3 times 6, or 18. So 4 raised to the 2x has to be 4 raised to the 18. So then that 2x has to be equal to 18. X has to be 9. And 9 plus 12 is equal to choice D, 21. So you take advantage of the law of exponents that states b to the a to the c is b to the a times c, and use that to rewrite your exponents. Next, for number 20, Johnny wishes to share 5 individual strands of licorice among 8 people. What's the minimum number of cuts that must be made? Assume that each cut cuts only one piece of licorice and that she may use the ruler. All right, so she has 5 strands. I want to share it among 8 people. So to figure out how much each person needs, you'll have to do 5 divided by 8. So each strand must be 5/8 of 5/8. If you say each one is like a foot long, each one must be 5/8 of a foot. To figure out how many cuts she has to make, if anything, you can put everything together. So it's entirely 5 feet. And you want to cut this into 8 equal pieces. What you end up doing is, if this piece is 5/8, then you want to add this piece to this piece and make a cut here, and then add this piece to this other piece and make the third cut, etc. So if you put everything together, if you want to cut this into 8 equal pieces, you have to make 7 cuts. So that will be choice C. None of the cuts will be at the edge because you don't have any common factors here. So you have to make 7 cuts for 8 pieces. Next for number 21, a random number between 0 and 1 is selected. What's the probability that a number is closer to 0 than it is to 0.7? So the middle between 0 and 0.7 is here. Between 0 and 0.7, the middle is 0.35. So if you want the probability that a number is closer to 0 than it is to 0.7, then the number has to be right here. The numbers here between 0 and 0.35 will be closer. So it will be about 35% because this is 35 numbers here as opposed to 100 numbers. Anything past this will be closer to 0.7. So anything above 0.35 will be closer to 0.7. But everything below 0.35 will be closer to 0. So there's about 35 numbers. So that's going to be choice B. Okay, and here's the summary for this last page. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. All right, bye everyone.